Hello and welcome to another episode of the 60 Go podcast. Seibs, good to have you here for week one. Good to have the footy back. I just want to start off by saying this. The Dally M is dead. We should no longer take any note of it whatsoever ever again after seeing the votes that have come out this week. It's a dead product, should never be referred to ever again. We should never pay attention to anything any Dally M medalist ever gets for the rest of their lives ever again.
Mate, they've got to sort something out. Surely anyone in their right mind that thinks the hammer deserved a point yesterday, and that wasn't even the worst. 90% of it was spot on, but the 10% that was questionable was just outright wrong and horrendous. Yeah. Anyway, that's a weird one. I don't know. Seriously. The hammer getting 1 point and it lost by 40, and two of the at least two of the tries were a direct result.
One vote, but Adam Reynolds getting votes over Joey Manu for the game last week in Vegas. I thought Joey Manu was close to the best player on the field, and Adam Reynolds in a losing team. I know Adam Reynolds is a great player, but certainly didn't qualify to Joey Manu's standards last week.
No, mate, he wasn't. Adam Reynolds was not good last week. He was simply not good. I thought he was poor. So for him to get more points than Manu, again, it's just there's glaring issues there. And I know that certain people watch certain aspects of the game and look at different things. And, there's every chance that it was a half that was picking that one. So they're concentrating on the halves. But there's just no way in the world that, Reynolds should have got points over Manu.
The main game I want to talk to you about actually is Parramatta and the Dogs. I know Mitch got hurt throughout the stage of the game. I thought Parramatta was incredibly poor. I think, and I'll start off by saying the Dogs are awful. They are no good whatsoever. So are you concerned at all that, like there were a couple of people in Parramatta who had really great games. Bryce Cartwright was outstanding. Sean Russell, I think, is becoming a really good player. But I've got massive concerns around Parramatta.
No, not the exact opposite, mate. I thought that Parra were one of the probably top 4 or 5 performing teams over the 2 weeks. The Dogs' attack is woeful, and the Dogs are a bottom 8 team. They're not going to be a bottom 4 side, but they're certainly going to be nowhere near the top 8. They turned them away. I thought Parra were. I would say Parramatta, Roosters, Manly, fittest and strongest sides. Obviously, Melbourne won for the 18 years that Bellamy's been there. But as far as the pure sitting back, watching the sides, who look fast, who look sharp, the Dragons definitely to who look most impressive. But no, not at all, mate. I come away from that quite happy.
The Bulldogs,
and Moses, was playing on one leg for
and I do get that. The one thing about the Dogs, I thought they were incredibly poor. Blake Taft to me is not a first grade standard. I don't know what they're going to do there, but he is not up to scratch.
In attack, mate, they were incredibly poor. They threw nothing at Parra, but I thought they defended fairly well, and I think that they'll improve based purely on the fact that their defense looks better, and you would think that the attack will come. I mean, there's 10 new blokes that have come into that side that are trying to get combinations. Saying that for years, that I don't think he's quite up to that standard, but. My issue is more with their halves. Burton's an elite centre, and he's playing in the halves, and Hutchinson is an excellent depth player at an NRL side. He'll come in, he does that really well, but I don't know if he's a top class number 7 in the NRL.
If you're the Bulldogs, do you put
and look, I know that I'm Crichton into 6 or
fullback and then Sherry into centres, and then surely there is a centre replacement there that's better than Blake Taff at fullback?
Bronson Cherry hasn't played footy for 4 years. He needs to play Reggie's for a couple of months and get back in the swing of it. Again, before he left, I don't think he was that good anyway. So he was a kid, and not being dismissive of him, but he'd just started his career. He had pace, he had power. He needs to play footy, play Reggie's for a month and see how he's going. I really think that I would be moving Crichton to right centre, Burton to left centre, leave Taff where he is for the time being, and bring in another half, because and I don't know who they've got. Who have they got there? Sexton, is he there, or has he gone back to Titan? He's there, isn't he?
Sexton and Hutchison you could run with, I suppose.
Yeah, but is it doing anything? I mean, you're weaker position to strengthen a position. So, and the other issue that the Dogs have got is they're 1 or 2 middles short. So we've spoken about it before. You look at their side, their best 17, 12 of them are unreal footy players. 2 or 3 of them are okay. 2 or 3 of them probably wouldn't make another side. So, yeah, I think that they're getting better. They're going to be better, but it's not happening this year.
The other one I wanted to talk to you about, Manly. What did you make of Manly's first performance?
I thought they looked fast and strong. Again, new players in key positions, so they weren't as sharp as I think they could be. But again, it was on the smaller field. None of the teams over there looked that sharp in attack. It was individual brilliance and, grinding opposition teams down. It'd be good to talk about those games, actually, because it was such an exciting event. I thought the whole day, the atmosphere was coming through the telly. You could really feel it, and it was I had a lot of FOMO sitting there watching it, because I think it was just a great event. Like, regardless, people will pick holes in everything because we live in a negative society and tall poppy syndrome, and AFL blokes will try and find something to knock us in regards to the crowd or whatever it is. But the whole event was a success. The games were excellent as far as a spectacle. That first game, there was 70-odd points scored, and I just thought Manly looked fitter and faster than the Bunnies. And even when the Bunnies jumped away, I did think to myself that as long as Manly get an even share of footy here, they're going to come home over the top of them because they looked fitter and faster. In the second game, I thought the Roosters come out of the blocks well. They definitely looked better than they did last year. But I also think that the Broncos were average, and there was excuses for them. You lose Piacora early, Carrigan shifts out to the edge. Certainly didn't help them. The rotation was all out of whack, and certainly that makes a big difference. But I just thought that they might take a month to really get into the swing of things, the Broncos, before they start to play that expansive, exciting style of footy again. What about yourself? What did you think?
Oh, I thought Manly were phenomenal. I thought they were. I think they might be the most exciting team to watch in the competition this year. They look so slick, particularly with their willingness to run it on fifth tackle. The two things I took out of that game were their back five is so electric. When they are all on the field, they are going to score a lot of points because they're so fast. And also their willingness to have these short side raids with Luke Brooks and Tommy combining was just unstoppable in the second half. And the other one, if he doesn't play Origin this year, I will give it away because Olakau'atu was a monster for Manly and absolutely carried their right-hand side. So, look, I thought that there was a lot of really exciting things for Manly. Their forwards held up really well. And I don't think it's crazy to say that that's the best we've ever seen Luke Brooks play. And the freedom he's got now to play with Cherry Evans. He's in for a phenomenal year. And how could he not be so excited coming back from America going, hey, is that the way we're going to play? It's going to be pretty fun.
And again, you could see how excited the boys were when he scored that try. Just seems like everyone's happy for him. Everyone wants to see him do well. I think, unless you're a really nasty human being, I think most footy lovers are happy to see Luke Brooks going well because he comes across like he's a decent bloke. He's been the whipping boy at a horrendous team for 10 years or more now. And, he hasn't had much help there. And now he can just, like we've said before, he can sit into that side, jump his short sides, show and goes. When you've got Turbo floating around, inside, outside, shoulder, and then someone as quick as Cooler as well out on that edge, he's going to get more time and space as well. So I think they're in for a good year. As I said before, I thought they were impressive. Again, like I said to you about Para, I thought they looked fast and strong. The Roosters were definitely better. The Dragons looked significantly lighter, didn't they? Like they looked fit. Blokes like Sully look like a different bloke. I mean, he's lost half his body weight. But in saying that, I want to see the Dragons over a couple of weeks because I said it 2 weeks ago. The Titans, they don't do anything for me. I don't know what the excitement is and what all the chat is about how good the Titans are going to be. I don't see it. I didn't see it before round one, so it's not like I'm jumping on now saying it. I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't think the Titans are going to be that good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And, Dragons and Titans will probably finish around the same spot at the end of the year. The other one I just wanted to touch on quickly before we move on off of Manly. Have you spoken to your brother in the past week since he's gotten back?
Yeah, I spoke to him, I think the day after he got back. So it was early last week.
How did he feel about it?
Yeah, they loved it, man. He was happy, very happy that he wanted to make sure that they got away and enjoyed themselves and had a good time. But, they had a big focus, and he told me he kept hammering home the fact that they're not there for a holiday. They're not there on a sightseeing adventure. They're not there to post everything on social media that they're doing. They've got to get the job done. And make sure it's been worthwhile. So, I think it's probably the week of some of those. The majority of the squad, you think they're young blokes. It'd be the week of their lives. But it certainly wouldn't have been as good if they didn't win. So, that plays a big part. And I get the feeling that if they got the opportunity to do it again, he'd jump at it because it'd be such a good bonding experience for him as well to take the whole squad away like that.
Yeah, absolutely. The other game I wanted to touch on, Storm and Penrith. I think there was a lot of great signs for both of these teams, particularly defensively. For Melbourne to get that win without Nelson and without Munster, I'm not sure you could have asked for much more if you're a Melbourne fan.
Oh, for sure, mate. Look, and again, there was no way on earth, even without Munster and Nelson, that I was tipping against them. Penrith, they did the same thing last year. They had to travel overseas. They played the World Club Challenge. They're a bit rusty. They don't really care what's going on round one. They see where they're at round 20 is where their focus is. And Melbourne just do not lose round one. And defensively, every single year they turn up and they are ready to go. There's nothing to iron out. Yep, their attack gets better, but their defense is always spot on, as good as it's going to be round one. So I think it was a good signs for them. Again, I expect both of those teams to be top 4, top 5. I'd be shocked if they're not.
One person who really impressed me just out of that game was Joe Chan. I thought his aggressiveness in defence and his aggressiveness in general just gave them a bit of an X factor that they're probably missing in the forwards.
Definitely. I think, and they need it, mate. Like, they can't rely on Nelson being that only power forward that they've got with blokes around them doing, just doing their job. They need a couple of blokes who can really get that explosive, go forward, bend the line, quick play the balls, generate ruck speed. It makes a huge difference. And Chan, he's a good footballer. He's I think he's in for a good couple of years actually. I think he's only about 20. But before we do move on though, mate, I think we have to talk about the game yesterday afternoon, the Cowboys and Dolphins. I need to see both of these teams over a couple of weeks because I think the Cowboys are good. They're going to be better. They looked fast. They look fit. They look strong. So I put them in that top 6 sides of athletically how they looked. But it was the Dolphins, and the Dolphins looked like the Dolphins of. They had endless amounts of possession on the Cowboys line, and all they did was crash play after crash play after crash play. Shifted the ball sideways, out the back, all running on the same angle, all running towards the corner post, and then another couple of crash plays. And they did that for 2 blocks of 10, 15 minutes. The Cowboys got the footy, rolled up the field, scored. So I think I need to see him over a couple of weeks to really make my mind up. But based on that, the Dolphins are in for a long, long year.
Well, the Hammer set up a couple of tries for the Cowboys. He was very good for them.
Flipper got his one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Look, I'm keen to see both of them next week. I give the Knights a real chance to beat the Cowboys next week. I don't think that's any sort of given that the Cowboys win that game. So I'm keen to see both these teams again. But yeah, obviously terrible defensive signs for the Dolphins early.
Oh, it was awful, and the Knights were awful too. The Raiders were. It was just a Ricky Stewart special, wasn't it? Turn up and
yes,
do what you win. But the Knights helped them. The Knights were bad. How long do the halves combination staying the same?
Should be this week. That should be it. Like you brought Cogger in for a reason. Like we've seen him perform at much higher levels than this, and they bring him on to play dummy half.
Yeah, it's not.
What's doing?
Why buy Will Price and bring him over from the other side of the world? He's an elite footballer, and he showed how good he was playing 5'8" in that trial. By Easter, I see Cogger, Price being the halves.
Most likely. And the other one, I just want to point this out. I texted you this at the time. You couldn't watch it live, but I hope that you got the chance to go back and watch it. The end of the Warriors Sharks game, Nico Hines' effort in the past 3 minutes was as good as any footballer will put on all year. Agree?
I agree, mate, totally. Nico is one of the best attacking footballers in the comp. His effort can never, ever be questioned. He always puts himself in a position to get on a footy, get to a loose ball, chase someone down. And it was, again, as good as, if not better than ever on Friday night, that last few minutes. I went back and after the text, I was really keeping an eye on it. And it was phenomenal. He got through some kilometres in that game. And in the last few minutes, he would have racked up a fair chunk as well. Nico's not effort. It's always been his one-on-one defence. That's where Nico's, knock has always been. But his effort areas were great. And it was better than ever Friday.
That's where I thought it was superb. He saved that one-on-one tackle on the try line to keep a try. And then when they kicked downfield, led the chase, and then probably was involved in 4 of the next 5 tackles, followed the ball on 5th tackle. So that was one thing that shouldn't be overlooked. And I saw off the back of the Dally M discussion this week, Nico got 6 votes. I think that is so much less egregious than the Hammers 1 vote.
It's again interesting. I think being putting our footy hat, being serious for a second on, the Sharks are the Sharks again, the same Sharks that they've been for the last 2 years. They're going to win games. They'll blow the average teams away. They'll really grind out tough games with people around the same spot as them on the table. I want to see them against the good sides. Then I think it shows again where the Warriors are probably realistically at now. Last year, they went on that wave of momentum. Those games, the crowd got them home. Johnson would do something magic. Wade Egan had the best year of his career last year. He got injured early. I thought Fanua Blake was unbelievable the other night. He was excellent. So they're going to miss him next year. But focusing on this year, I think we'll see more of that from the Warriors. They'll be fighting for a spot in the 8. they're going to win games. They'll lose the odd game against teams around the same spot as them on the table. It'll be just, can they put away the bad sides? If they can, they're a chance of the 8. If they drop a couple that they shouldn't, they're in big trouble because I can't see them beating the good sides.
Great point. On the flip side, really good win for the Sharks. To be down 12-0 early against that crowd over in New Zealand, things could have turned pear-shaped very, very quickly for the Sharks. So to turn that around and come back to win 16-12, they'll build off the back of that. They've been a bit like the Dallas Cowboys over the past few years, the Cronulla Sharks. They've destroyed terrible teams, but just haven't been able to beat any of the top teams. So I'm keen to see how the Sharks go next year, this year. But for me, the Sharks next year is the one to sort of put the circle around with for Neil Blake.
Yeah, he's a superstar. He's one of the best 2 or 3 props in the game. And I think as well, like, there is excuses for the Warriors. They lost the young fullback during the game. They lost Egan. So, things weren't, I think Capel was under an injury cloud for most of the game as well. So things weren't smooth for them. So I think it's a forgive, but it'll be interesting to see because there's a few sides that have really tough first 2 or 3 rounds. You think of the Thursday night blockbuster we got this week. I think it'll be a great game. Rabbits and Broncos. Well, the loser is none from 2. Rabbits face Roosters the following week. Broncos have Penrith. So one of these sides is dead set looking at 0 and 3. And that's when the noise starts, they
particularly for South. Like, we'll finish off with who's your team to watch for next week, because for me, it's all about South Sydney this week. The circle is right around them because the way they fell out the back door last year, they had to get off to a good start this year. And if they go this week and lose to the Broncos, then they're going up against the Roosters next week and they're 0-3. The drums will be beating.
They tick so many outside noise boxes, don't they? The coach, will he keep his job? Latrell and Cody, the noise around those guys, the noise around Damien Cook, is he getting too old? The noise around Cameron Murray, is he a one-man band? Like, it all just starts to pile on and pile on. Flip side, they win next week. They've got a bit of confidence, knock over the Roosters, and its noise is gone. So it's a big week. And I know we are running out of time, but Broncos, Rabbits, who have you got?
Broncos for me.
Broncos should win.
Yeah, Broncos at home.
Did that well. I think $3.30 or $3.40 for the Rabbits is overs. So gambling wise, I'm going to throw a few bucks because that's two teams coming off average performances. That's big odds. Sharks, Dogs.
Sharks all day.
Yeah, I think so. They should win well. Panthers, Para.
I'll take Panthers in that.
Moses plays. I tip Para. Moses doesn't play. Tip Penrith. Raiders, Tigers.
Who cares?
Raiders by the length.
Raiders should win that. The thing about the Raiders, like we spoke about this in the offseason, their forward pack is actually too good to finish in the bottom 3 or 4 teams. Yeah. Like, their forward pack is actually, it's too good. And you look at Ricky, who was a psycho. Did you see what he had on the dressing room doors over the weekend? Hilarious. Yeah. Hilarious. And that is so typical Ricky psychoness that will get them wins all throughout the year. And they'll win this week.
Exactly. And they'll win games at home during winter. So,
yeah.
Cowboys, Knights. Cowboys, I think Cowboys should win that, but
I'll tip the Knights. I'm willing to give them a mulligan for 1 week.
And it's all about who you played. And I thought the Dolphins were probably photo finish with the Titans as in my opinion, the worst teams last weekend.
Yep, absolutely.
Storm, Warriors.
I'll go the Storm. Hopefully Nelson or Munster's back or both. But at home, very tough to beat.
I think the word is Munster's no chance, but Nelson's back.
Yeah, righto.
Eagles, Roosters at Brookvale.
Great game.
At Brook.
I'm going to go Manly, but it's I'd love Saab to be playing. He's such an X factor for them there. And we actually did see evidence of the field impacting, because if that field was an extra 3 meters wider, he would have gotten around Lockie Ilias. So yeah, I'll go Manly, but that's the game of the week for me.
It will be great. And then the Dolphins Dragons.
Geez, there's a couple of great games this week and then a couple of shockers. Dragons, surely. The Dolphins weren't first grade.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, look, mate, it'll be a be wary of the bounce back for the Dolphins, but I think the Dragons looked pretty good.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Money-wise, having a look here, I don't mind a punt. A little Rabbits Knights, $10 on that. I reckon you get some good odds. Get about 10-1.
Very good. Well, Rabbits us.
Knights are overs.
Yeah, absolutely. Rabbits are the team to watch this week, though. Watch the drums come beating if they lose. Seibs, thank you for your time. This has been the 68 podcast, and that is full time.